Hi, Ray Dickey from South Carolina CAI. We are here for Ravenel Associates who were kind enough to set this up. This is a private live stream just for Ravenel. And Cameron, thank you for having us.
Thank y'all for being here.
So what we're going to do is we're going to work on this topic, what every board needs to know. And I'm actually going to work off that flyer that was distributed, and we're going to try to hit all those items. Before I go any further and the panel introduces themselves, let me launch this poll. And it takes me a little while to use the new system. So, which I think I say this every time, right, Jennifer? I don't like it. Okay. I'm launching the poll. If you need CEUs, just click yes. If you do not, I don't care if you click it or not. It doesn't matter. Everyone has a question feature. Please ask questions. I love it. I love hearing from the viewers. It makes a way better program. I don't use anyone's names. So feel free to ask whatever you like. I could make a mistake, so don't send me anything too top secret, even though I've never made a mistake yet. So I'm going to go ahead. People are still filling out the poll, but I think I'm going to close it anyway. If I close the poll before you had time to fill it out, do not worry. Use your question feature and say, hey, Ray, I need CEUs. And you could send me your opinions about things. I love getting the communication. And once again, that's using your question panel. With that being said, I am going to introduce our panel with who I see first, and that is Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Eggleston. I work with Hotwire Communications. We are a true fiber to the home internet service provider, and we're servicing North and South Carolina. I am the regional account manager for the area, and my job is to work with community managers with existing and prospective accounts.
All right. And Jennifer's kind enough to give away a gift card. So we'll do that about midway through. O'Neill.
Good morning, everybody. O'Neill McCoy. I'm a senior vice president with McGriff Insurance, located in our Myrtle Beach, South Carolina office. And we specialize in risk management insurance for community associations across the Carolinas.
And I was saying before we went live, audience, how charming O'Neill is. Everyone loves O'Neill. So I wish I had that talent. But anyway. Okay, Cameron, thank you so much. I'm sure everyone knows you who's here, but why don't you introduce yourself anyway?
Yeah, so I'm Cameron Lay with Ravenel Associates, and I am a senior manager, and I'm heading up development and training, and it's kind of a new role for me. So, but I've been with Ravenel for 12 years on the 1st, so glad to be here. Thanks for setting us up, and looking forward to learning some information on board service.
Excellent. And thanks for inviting us. Adam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Adam Clarkson with Clarkson, McAlonis, and O'Connor. We do general counsel. We do collections on a deferred fee basis, and we do construction defect on a contingency fee basis throughout South Carolina. However, we are located across the bridge from you guys on Johnny Dodds. So we're right down the street. And yeah, great to see you guys. I'm a fellow College Community Association lawyers, and I'm your vice chair of Legislative Action Committee, amongst a lot of other things with CAI. Great to see you all.
And just so the audience knows, Adam just got married. So for all these years, all the people that have been contacting me, because Adam's so handsome and he's this and he's that, I'm sorry. He's officially off the market. So stop sending me those comments. He's not available. I'm very sorry. All right. Hopefully we won't lose a lot of viewers because of that, Adam. We'll see. There is a packet that has everyone's information. Please download it. If you need it at a later date, just email me and I'll be happy to send it to you. So I think what we're going to do, Jennifer, since we don't have any fiber optic questions, have you jump off and have you come back. And if I forget to have you come back, which I won't, but if I do, about midway through, usually about number 9, pop back in, okay?
Okay.
You'll figure out what number 9 means in a second. So,
gotcha.
Okay. So I thought it'd be great if we kind of stuck with what we promoted in the flyer. And there's 16 items that I want to try to hit today. And we have about 3 minutes each. And it's going to be what boards are and are not responsible for. Cameron, right off the bat, this is kind of a big question to do in 3 minutes. Do you agree?
Yeah, it is. We'll try to get through it.
Do you find that there is a lot of confusion, not only with owners not understanding this, but sometimes even new board members?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Adam, let's hear it. What should boards be responsible for, and what are some items that aren't obvious that they shouldn't be?
Well, I just love it when you give us 3 minutes for a topic that could be 3 hours. So we're just gonna try to distill it down. But since we're going threshold things right off the bat, I think one of the things we always see with new board members coming in is a confusion between their duties as far as their role. And they should really be setting policy. They're going to approve contracts and other substantive things for the association. But for the most part, other than that, management's going to handle the day-to-day. If they have professional management, they're going to be out there taking care of the day-to-day, interacting with individuals. And board members, they love to try to do that. They try to interact with, they want to interact with homeowners. They want to start knocking on doors to talk about violations because they thought that was a great idea. They didn't realize now they're going to go to jail for trespassing and assault and everything else that goes with it. So just reining them in and getting them to just have a professional corporate board meeting where they set policy, they discuss big items, and then enter into contracts and then let management take care of things in a professional manner. I'd say that's one of the core things to get them to learn right out of the gate, because a lot of people want to be way too hands-on.
Do you think they should look at themselves almost as like a CEO would, theoretically?
Literally, not just theoretically. But not the CEO. They should look at themselves as a corporate board, like if they're on the board, and then the manager is the CEO. The manager is going to be out there handling these actions and making sure that all the functions are occurring and everything else is happening. But in the boards, that's the thing that they get confused about. Right. They want to go out there. They want to talk to the landscaper. You don't need to talk to the landscaper. And by the way, there's, at least 2 other board members, sometimes 4, sometimes 6 other board members, and 7, these guys all have their opinions. You don't need one of you out there picking unless you've been designated to do that, which is usually just a really small, association that they're going to try to start doing things all by themselves, super hands-on.
So O'Neill, there's going to be insurance aspects to just about everything we talk about today. There's an insurance aspect about boards not getting into the weeds. There's an advantage, correct? Do you want to expand on that if it's accurate?
I think Adam said it eloquently. Is about the biggest things. Make sure you're hiring that professional association management company. And outside of that, I think every board member needs to have a clear understanding of the governing documents. At the end of the day, the associations that we see that are the most successful and are the best run are the ones that treat it like a business. And I think it's very important that this is not just you're managing a large property. Sometimes multiple $1 million budget, and it needs to be run like a business.
Cameron, I'm going to say this, and you don't have to agree, even acknowledge it, or you can do whatever you like or disagree. Let the managers do their job, boards. Let the managers do their job. Sometimes you're not helping them when you think you're helping them. You're just kind of like messing things up. They've already spoken to the owner. Now you're jumping in, and you're making a mess of things. Let the managers do their job. Cameron, do you want to comment on my statement, or do you just want to leave it as is? What would you prefer?
Well, I think board members are usually good intentioned, and sometimes it's hard to not step in, especially if you have a relationship. A homeowner has a relationship with their neighbor that may have an issue with, and sometimes that can be really helpful. But yeah, managers they're professionals and they know how to do this, and sometimes it's helpful to have some distance. And I think that's why boards and communities do hire professional management companies, because you can get into some sticky situations. For example, if your next door neighbor is not paying their fees or whatnot, it can be helpful to have somebody to be the middleman for that. So,
do you think some good advice, Cameron, would be like if you're a board member and one of your fellow neighbors come up and tells you about something that you definitely listen and you say, you know what, I'm going to check on this with the office and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Perfect.
Yep. Perfect. Excellent. So,
right.
Yeah.
If I circle back around, if you don't mind for 1 second, because you're kind of going back to the insurance ramifications about the question that you asked about getting into the weeds. I think there were two things I did want to mention, and I think this is probably what you're alluding to. Is one, the reason boards don't need to get, or board members need to get into the weeds is they need to act in their capacity as a board member. We have seen that board members have gone off rogue and made their own decisions and tried to enforce things that were not what the board or the governing documents required. And the directors and officers of insurance, which is obviously very important to every board member, that does not apply if you're acting rogue. You need to act within your capacity as a board. And the second thing about the governing documents, the number one directors and officers claim is failure of the board to adhere to the governing documents, which is the reason they all need to have a very clear understanding.
Yep. They hire a manager for a reason. Let the manager be on the hook if something doesn't work out the way it's supposed to work out. They do it for a living. They're probably going to do it right anyway. So don't jump into the weeds because you're just going to maybe get yourself in trouble where you don't need to be. Okay. Next item I have is, once again, Adam, you don't even have 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes for everybody. And we're already 2 minutes behind schedule. All right. Fiduciary duty, duty of care, and duty of loyalty. Why do I have this slide?
Why do you have this slide?
Yeah, why did I include it? Do you think it was a good idea to include it? I think it's important.
Well, I think that you like a lot of commas. It would be my first guess. And that you've heard people talk about these things, but they're all, the duty of care and the duty of loyalty are simply components of the fiduciary duty, which also has other various components that go with it. But the central core portion of the fiduciary duty is, of course, to act in the best interest of the corporation, which for an association, board members are supposed to be acting in the best interest of the corporate entity and looking out for its longevity, which that's where we find that most board members, particularly volunteers, the ones that don't have a lot of corporate experience, get confused because they like to supplant their own personal household judgment for the judgment that they would use for the corporation. And you don't get to do that. It's big boy decision time. It's not time for you to figure out how you can cut corners like you might do at your house. You know, at your house, problem happens, you might go to Home Depot and fix it. You don't do that when you're dealing with an elevator in a high rise. So it's one of those situations where they need to go out, they need to reach out to proper professionals. And, you know, I'm setting this up for O'Neill because he's ready to jump on it because this is insurance. But in the key portion is, if you're going out there, you're not seeking out your proper professional, which of course the threshold professional for every community association is their professional community manager. And that professional community manager is going to direct them to the other professionals they need. Maybe they need to see O'Neill for insurance. Maybe they need to see me for law. Maybe they need to see a CPA. Maybe they need to see a contract landscaper. Just pointing them out, because if they don't, they skip it. They're grossly negligent. And now they're in breach. And also they've got bigger problems that I'll let O'Neill talk about.
So O'Neill, fiduciary duty, you're supposed to be doing what you're supposed to be doing on behalf of the chapter. Basically, right, Adam? You have a job to do, and you're supposed to be acting in the interest of the chapter. Is that okay, Adam?
Association. I mean, we're not talking about CAI. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. All right. I said chapter. I'm sorry, association. Thank you, Adam. O'Neill, what happens if I'm a board member and I don't do it, and then somebody sues?
So it's a good question. Another one we could talk about for hours, but you know, it's all going back to what we keep saying is we have over 600 associations, and we have a handful that are self-managed, and I don't understand why anybody would want to self-manage an association. You know, that is the reason as a board, they hire that professional management company to help them direct them in understanding, because most board members don't understand exactly how an association needs to run from soup to nuts. So it's always important that they, not only from the association management side, but they're dealing with professional license and insured, and I would like to say association specific contractors and vendors, because at the end of the day, you know, the board is responsible for that making decisions. They want to surround themselves with the people that can protect them, because if they're not, they find themselves negligent, they open themselves up to various claims.
And depending on their actions, most of the time it'll be covered, but it's also possible, if it's so grossly negligent, that there could be issues with the insurance.
Correct.
That's what I was looking for.
Sorry,
Okay.
I went around. I went on a tangent. I like to talk. I went on a
All right.
tangent.
Yeah. Don't do it, boards. You have insurance. It doesn't always work if you don't do what you're supposed to do. Cameron, this is kind of a big one, but it's kind of common sense, right? If you just follow the manager's lead and do things the right way, you should not have a problem with this, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't go rogue,
Just,
as we've already said.
yes, don't go rogue. That's like the worst thing you could do. And now we're here kind of like what you touched upon a little bit. I'm going to start with Cameron here. Board versus manager, who does what? Cameron, this is going to decide not only on the manager company, the actual manager agreement, the association. This is going to vary greatly. If that's true, Cameron, can you explain though why it's important from a management perspective that you know what you're supposed to do and not do?
Yeah, so I mean, the boards make the decisions, and basically the managers carry out those decisions, and the managers do the background work to, provide the quotes so that the boards can make the educated decisions. I'm not deciding what landscaper to go with, but I'm providing, 3 or 4 quotes for landscapers so that the board can find the best fit for their community.
And look at your management contract, because your manager in some cases is not responsible for everything, and
Right.
they're running a business and they have limited amount of time, and that management company has dedicated a certain amount of time and resources to your association based on that contract. And you could change the contract if it's needed. Cameron, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, typically special projects need more board involvement. Boards, if it's not a regular contract, if it's a special assessment or a big capital improvement, then boards may want to meet with contractors and get more involved in that project.
And before they go to the next one, Cameron, I would say that the management contract is the second most maybe important document for a board member to understand. Would you agree?
I would, yeah.
Okay. Adam, I'm going to go. Yes, thank you. Governing documents. Adam, I just want to fly through this one if we can. Governing documents lay out what your association should or should not be doing in the big picture. And you got to read it and you can't go against it or it's going to be a disaster. Adam, true or false?
True.
All right. You may add on based on all your law experience and degrees compared to Ray Dickey's commentary.
Well, it's noted, it's, you guys pointed out, it's the most important things for the boards to be basically to have comprehension of and be following and making sure they're aware of what's in there. Of course, there's a hierarchy of the governing documents. You have the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, which are pretty much the top. And on the other side, and that's going to govern what you can do with restrictions. That's going to govern what you can assess, and that's going to govern how you can basically, if you can fine and you can levy things over people's individual property, because a lot of folks you need lien rights to be able to impose lien rights, and associations get confused about that. Then you've got your art corporation and your bylaws, which really those tier out and show you how to operate the association, like your day-to-day, how you're going to run the meetings and whatnot. It also has things, they also generally will have stuff about having hearings and things like that for homeowners. And then you've also got your rules and regulations, which are incredibly important and frequently forgotten for some reason, but those are going to be adopted by the board, and those are going to be adopted within the scope of the CC&Rs and the bylaws and articles. And a lot of that is to provide greater clarification of the underlying documents, but it's only within the scope of that. You can't deviate and change the CC&Rs and the articles and the bylaws to the rule, but you need that to guide it, because a lot of folks, they love to ignore it and just do, oh, well, this is what they do down the street. You can't do what they do down the street because that's not in your governing documents.
And let's remember, we're doing basics today. So audience, the panel's right. We could spend an hour just on governing documents. So we're just kind of putting some thoughts in your head today so you could check back with your manager and ask questions that maybe you need to ask. O'Neill, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we're behind schedule, but I just thought of another important document. Governing documents, the management contract, but boy, I would check that D&O insurance. Can you do like a quick summary if you agree?
Oh, correct. Yeah, well, obviously, as a board member, one of the most important types of coverage you can have as directors and officers insurance. And that covers the boards, their actions, their decisions, or lack thereof. And it is very important that you have a robust policy and one that is tailored to community associations. If you've got a directors and officers policy that's 1 or 2 pages, it's about as good as the paper is written on. So that a thorough review of the directors and officers coverage is extremely important.
And like, if you're a new board member, don't trust Bob, the president, if he tells you don't worry about it. It's your personal assets on the line. Theoretically, I know there's other things with indemnification, but I wouldn't trust him. He's probably a great guy, but I'd want to see it myself. O'Neill, do you agree?
Yes. All
right, Cameron, are you impressed by how much I know yet? Or somebody wrote me telling him to do trials, like me going to the doctor and saying, I don't have cancer, right? Like, it's ridiculous. So, all right. But I could have something else. Okay. The next one is common early missteps. Cameron, I'm going to go with you on this. You want time to think about it? And I'll bounce over to Adam while you're thinking?
Yeah, give me a minute. I'm going to ponder it.
Adam, no minute for you. Give me a common early misstep or misconception that a board will make, a new board member.
Oh, I got one.
Adam, you're on standby. Cameron.
Yeah, so sometimes you will see a board member get on the board and they immediately want to do their pet project. So they got on the board and the first thing they want to do is renovate the lobby. That is not a good idea.
You just, everyone else's, what they were going to say. I pretty much guarantee it. And good for you. That's why I went right back to you and didn't even give Adam a chance to say it. All right, okay. Adam, can you give me another common misstep?
It's the person that jumps on. They want to be the board president. It's their first time on the board. They want to be the board president. The other people actually elect them to be select them to be the board president, and then they just try to control everything as if it's a sole, like as if they own a business and they're just making decisions for that business. Happens all the time, and it's completely inappropriate and incorrect.
O'Neill, can you give me one?
Yeah. Cheaper insurance is better insurance. We see people that, I hate to say it, we're in a very price-driven time, and unfortunately, we see boards that will accept inferior policy that's cheaper, and people that work with maybe agents that are not specific to community associations. We've seen boards get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you want to use, I'll just say it. O'Neill just kind of said you want to use somebody that knows the HOA world, because you're not going to get everything in your policy that another insurance person probably not even going to know all these items. I'll add one, Adam. You could tell me if you agree with it. You're new to the board and you get up and you say, well, I'm not talking as a board member now, but I think we should throw Bob out the window and send him to a deserted island. Adam, once you're on the board, you're on the board, and we have sessions for that for a reason, right? I don't want to do a session, but can you back me up on that?
I feel like you've been paying attention to the prior webinars, Ray. I mean, you don't get to take off your hat and just say, oh, I'm not using my board hat. No, you're still on the board. If you don't want to have the board hat, resign. You don't have to be on the board.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're on the board. Things have changed for you. Very much so. As they should. Real life examples. I almost feel like this is the same thing as the other one. Does everyone on the panel agree? Okay. I don't know why I have that slide there. Okay. How board meetings should run. Cameron, I'm going to start with you. Just a little, why do you think board meetings go off the rails? And as a manager and you have a new board member or a board, what is a little frustrating for you? What do you see what mistakes boards make?
Yeah, going off of an agenda, a lot of boards try to keep it casual, but there are some basic Robert Rules of Orders that should be followed. It isn't a corporation, and we need to keep it professional. So just trying to reel people back in. Usually for my boards, I have an open forum at the end. We get through all the business on the agenda, and then if they want to go off the rails, then they can. Usually by that point, everybody's tired and wants to go home. But there's an opportunity for that.
Cameron, this is an honest question I don't know the answer to, and maybe it varies. How do you feel about managers stepping in to help out? Do you think boards should, if they're struggling a little bit? I mean, obviously you want the manager to come up and give a manager report, right? But what do you think about boards when they're struggling getting a point across to the owners about letting the manager jump in, because the manager is just going to have so much more experience and communication?
I definitely think that's appropriate in a lot of cases.
Okay. Adam, don't dive too deep, and I do have another slide on executive session, so don't like dive into that, but can you give us a summary on how you think board meetings should run and what should board members be on the lookout for?
I mean, I agree with Cameron. I like to see him go orderly and in accordance at least with Bob's rules of order. We won't say Robert's rules, we'll say Bob's rules, because it's kind of like the generic version that we follow. It's not super strict. You know, directing your comments to the chair is very important. I love timed agendas and I love timed comments, because when you've got boards that just go, you know, some of our clients have thousands and thousands of units, and those guys can spend a day on the meeting if they want to. Whereas some of them are, you know, a couple hundred, they can get through them faster, but even the ones a couple hundred can spend a long time. So I love timed agendas. It's contemplated within Robert's Rules of Order, so it's something that can be easily implemented and keeps people moving.
O'Neill, I heard that you love board meetings so much that you go to them even when they're not your client. Is that true?
We spend a lot of time educating. Yes.
No, but you go to board meetings where you're not even invited. You just love them so much.
It's great. It's great pay-per-view. It's good. They can be, especially back in 2023. There was a lot of good conversations.
What do you think about this? How board meetings should run? What would your overall advice be?
I have nothing to add. I think they hit the nail on the head. Orderly, timely, and professional.
Cameron, make a plan and stick with it. Would you agree?
I would. Yep.
Excellent. Executive, and Jennifer, why don't you jump back on so you're here when we're ready? Executive session do's and don'ts. Adam, I'll just let you kind of run with what is an executive session first, and how can we not have board members think they can abuse it?
Well, an executive session, so notably, South Carolina law doesn't require that homeowners have a right to attend a board meeting. So it's not as big of an issue in South Carolina, but a lot of your governing documents in South Carolina do require and empower homeowners to have an opportunity to attend a regular board meeting. And generally you want to do it because it's the best practice for transparency. You want people to come in and be able to see it. So an executive session is a meeting of just the board. It can have management, you can have attorneys there, whatnot, but you're going to address certain issues outside the presence of the membership, which you would do. You can utilize that either because it's something that's necessary, even if your documents require board meetings to be open to the membership, or it's something that's just appropriate for the type of conversation you're having. So for example, if you're having an attorney-client privilege conversation, that conversation should just be with the board, the attorney and management, because the membership is generally not included in the scope of attorney-client privilege. If you're talking about confidential issues, you're talking about delinquencies for individual homeowners, you know, collections, you're talking about fine issues. Those are relatively confidential issues that should be private for that owner, and that's appropriate to address during executive session. So it's going to be items like that. But now if you're talking about, and also other things that could be compromising for the association or other, you know, concepts. But if you're talking about, say, a big capital improvement project that the board wants to discuss, that's not appropriate for executive session. That should be in the regular board meeting. And that's where those decisions should be made. And certainly you shouldn't be opening contracts and making contract decisions during executive session.
Cameron, boards sometimes tend to abuse this, even sometimes purposely, sometimes accidentally. Do you agree?
Yeah, that can happen.
So I would say check in with your legal professional to see on whether or not an item should be in the executive session if you're not sure. Does anyone on the panel disagree? Okay. Adam, can we start calling executive sessions super duper secret sessions instead of executive session? Can I do it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Darn it. It's no fun. All the terms are so boring. Executive session. People would want to go much more, Adam. Right? Do you agree, Cameron? Like, hey, we're going to have an executive session. That's boring. If you told the board members we're having a super duper secret session, they're going to want to. Oh, all right. We'll see. O'Neill, any commentary?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So let's take a break here. Jennifer from Hotwire is going to give away a gift card. And the way that works is we're going to poll the audience. Jennifer is going to pick a number at random based on how many people are here or how many people registered, and I'll figure it out. I think like 40 people went ahead and registered, or 45, whatever it is. Why don't you pick a number, Jennifer, first? Let's get that part done, and you'll be playing whoever that person is.
Okay. Any series, 1 through 100?
No, 1 through 45, let's say.
1 through 40. Got it. Okay. 3.
Did you do that because I've been giving you a hard time about?
Yes.
I knew it. Okay, I knew it. Jennifer always picks the middle, O'Neill, every time. Every time. And I know when I heard 3, it's because I've been giving her a hard time about it. Okay, excellent. So you're going to play for number 3 who registered and or who's here, closer to number 3. And Jennifer's going to have to guess what the audience guessed. So first thing before I poll anyone is the number of board presidents that do not delegate. Is it 75% and up? Is it 50%? Is it 25%? Or is it less than 20%? And I'm going to poll the audience. And Jennifer, don't look at the poll. And let me find the polls. Polls. Okay. Cameron, without looking, not your own personal opinion, how do you think our audience is going to answer? How many of the presidents don't delegate enough?
Let's say 60%. Or
You say
I guess,
60.
yeah, also 60.
Okay. Adam.
What the audience is going to say?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that they're going to be tied between 75 and 50%.
All right. Give me your
maybe
guess.
more 75%.
Because you just said that though. Tell me I don't mind putting you in a spot. What do you think personally?
I think it's a trick question because all of them, there's no delegation.
Right.
You're the president. All you do is run the meeting.
Just so the audience knows, the lawyers do this to me all the time. Adam does it. Dave Byrne. It's a silly poll question. And I get I'm in a deposition basically over the question. Okay. O'Neill, are you willing just to kind of guess and add some little bit of commentary, or are you going to question me on the question?
No, my commentary is I'm going with Jennifer's strategy. I'm going 50%.
Okay. Thank you. And Jennifer, back me up. I'm not making that up, right? The lawyers always do it. You've seen it.
It is a thing.
What did you pick? In order to win a prize for number 3, you had to pick the right one. What did you pick?
The lower end. So I thought maybe less than 20%.
Every person in the entire world, except for 2 here, all thought the opposite. And it's 50 to 75%. People become board presidents because they like to do stuff, and they don't delegate enough. With that being said, though, is Hotwire gonna provide a gift card anyway?
Yes.
Okay. Cameron, were you surprised by the results? You weren't.
No, that's what I thought it would come out as.
Yeah, actually, you were dead nuts on at 60%. I forgot what Adam and O'Neill said. It doesn't matter. So, all right. I would have guessed on the higher side myself. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Now, let me just put it here. So
we can see it while it's running, by the way, right?
I know the new system does it while it's running. And what happens is if I have you guys answer in advance, it influences the audience. So I can't win with this poll thing. So they told me that they've been getting a lot of complaints about it and they're going to fix it. So it's a problem. So once again, Jennifer from Hotwire, thank you. Jennifer's always on the road. If you wave on the highway, there's a good chance you'll see her. Where are you going next, Jennifer? Where are you right now and where are you going? Really quick.
I'm in Savannah, Georgia, and I'm on my way to Myrtle Beach.
Man, you do that trip a lot. A lot. All right. Well, if you're a board member or manager and you want to meet Jennifer from Hotwire, she'll probably meet with you. So send me an email and I will tell you where you can meet Jennifer. Does that work, Jennifer?
Perfect. See you guys.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. All right. And Hotwire is also sponsoring we have 2 expos coming up and they're sponsoring the networking party. So here we go. And I'm also going to get Adam to sponsor some stuff too. I just haven't, he's been busy with his wedding. So I don't want to bother him. Adam's always, and I'll get McGriff too. All right. Anyway, here we go. Number 8, enforcing rules without favoritism. Cameron, I hate this one. Like, I hate even hearing it, but I think I had to mention it, right?
Yeah, it's tricky because again, you're friends with a lot of your neighbors if you're a board member, and you have to separate that out sometimes, and that can be tricky.
I think people either do it purposely, but many times they don't even do it purposely for the reason you said. Do you agree, Cameron?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's not ill-intentioned all the time.
Yeah, there's just like a natural tendency, right? That someone that's been like really nasty to you for the entire year, complaining about the hot dogs not being long enough at the pool. You don't really want to, provide them the exact same services or opportunities that you provide the person that tells you do a good job all the time.
Right.
Agree, Cameron?
Yeah, or vice versa. Sure.
Adam, can board members treat those nasty, terrible, always complaining people differently in what they are deserve to get compared to everyone else? Or does everyone have to be treated what they should be treated to? Make it make sense, please.
It depends. Because depending on the nature of what the violation is and how the violation is occurring, they could have made their violation unique in that they are making it in a more hostile, aggressive, violent, inappropriate manner, which in that case would make the violation different. And let's say there are 2 violations, and let's say one of them, they're both failure to maintain a lawn, but one of them they just got a bunch of regular weeds. The other one, they have organized it into where the weeds give a universal signal on the lawn to everybody that's driving by. Those are not the same failure to maintain a lawn. One of them is something that's inappropriate, and it's children shouldn't see it and whatnot. It is much more egregious than the other, but they're both going to fall into that same section of improper failure to maintain the lawn because there's weeds in the lawn. So they could be treated differently in that scenario. But if you got just the same lawn and one of them's more of a jerk than the other when they come to the board meetings and whatnot, you can't do a whole lot about the lawn. However, Robert's Rules of Order does have decorum requirements, and you can adopt rules and restrictions in your association governing documents for the decorum issues, and that can be addressed as a violation in and of itself.
That was a lot. Really basically what we're telling them, though, is they can't play favorites unless there's a reason to. Just because you don't like the person, you can't treat them any better than anyone else. Is that accurate?
Pretty much.
Cameron, wouldn't I be a great lawyer at the board meetings? Like, Adam gives all that information and I would be just like, no, you can't. You'd probably end up in court in about 10 minutes, but all right.
Yeah.
O'Neill, I'm thinking of a big word that insurance people hate. So let's see if we're thinking the same and then run with it.
All right. So the opposite of favoritism is discrimination. Is that the word?
Yep.
Hey, you and me right there.
I know.
Right there.
It's scary.
So,
it's scary.
Yeah, favoritism is one thing, but discrimination's the other side of that. And I can tell you, treating everybody equally as much as you can, but discrimination, when you talk about lawsuits for directors and officers, the largest lawsuits and settlements that we see are due to discrimination claims.
You're going to lose. It's going to cost you a bundle. You're going to look bad. It may make the news, and it may be innocent. Maybe you weren't looking at color, but because you showed favoritism, you get accused of discrimination, even though it didn't play into that, but they're going to use that justly or unjustly so. And you don't want to go down that road because that's a big loser.
Right.
Adam, agree, disagree?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're talking about something other than your slide now, but yes, you can't get into, once you get into discrimination, I mean, you're going to be it's a slippery slope. And, one of the things I'll just point out is that a lot of times you got to be very cognizant from the association standpoint when you're getting homeowners coming in and they're asking for association to pursue violations. A lot of them like to phrase things, and after a while, you guys will notice, as you'll see, they're using certain phrases because they're switching them out to try to not sound discriminatory, but they're actually they are picking on particular groups or classes of people. And so you got to be very careful in moving forward with associations enforcement based off of just individualized complaints, which is why it's great to do uniform enforcement where you have that drive-through once or twice a month through management that just uniformly checks everything, as opposed to reactive enforcement where you're just reacting to complaints from individual homeowners.
Okay. Cameron, it was a lot of legal. You may not have any commentary. Do you want to add anything to this?
No,
You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's important. It's a whole other topic within itself. By the way, Cameron, Adam will never agree with me 100%. I've been doing this 5 years, and he's never once said, Ray, you are 100% right. He always has a caveat. It's probably the law degree and law school and all that. That's probably the reason why. But still, I'm still waiting for that day to happen.
I'm pretty sure I did at least make you happy, Ray.
Okay. Well, I have to feel like it's sincere, Adam, for it to really mean something for you. Okay. All right. Budgets and reserves. I'd like to do this one really, really quick. You got to have a budget, and if you don't do reserves, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Adam.
Yes, it's very important to have the budget. You've got to have that because you got to be able to do that to be able to allocate and assess assessments. There's not a express reserve requirement here in South Carolina. However, a lot of your governing documents are going to impose reserve requirements. Also, you can run afoul of your fiduciary obligations if you're not keeping up the reserves. And we do have Supreme Court case law that's indicating when you've got a declarant property, it's in development, and when that declarant's setting it up, when they turn it over, it needs to have properly funded reserves. And so it's very important, even if you don't have the proper language in the documents, to make sure that you do have those reserves funded, particularly when you're dealing with declarant properties, because otherwise you're going to have a declarant that's going to find themselves in a lawsuit after transition.
O'Neill, boards are getting sued when they don't have proper reserves by owners. It is a growing trend. Would you agree?
Yeah, lack of sufficient reserves is one of the biggest issues we face over the past few years, and in the wake of rising insurance costs and inflation and all that, it has been a huge concern because unfortunately a lot of boards have run over the past 20 years that we're not going to raise your dues. And when you don't raise your dues, you can't properly reserve. And to Adam's point, unfortunately, we don't have that legislation in South Carolina, but there are states now that are passing legislation that requires associations to have a updated reserve study and also to fund it. And I think we need that here as well.
Adam, boards are not there to save the owner. Let me rephrase. The boards have a responsibility to maintain association property, and what it costs, it costs. They are not there to not do that because the owners can't afford it. That's not their problem. Can you rephrase it so it makes a little bit more sense than the way I said it? You know what I'm trying to get at, right?
Absolutely. I mean, boards have an affirmative fiduciary obligation to maintain and keep up the property. And the purpose of the association's assessments is to be spent. You're supposed to spend that money. You're not supposed to hoard it. You're supposed to spend it on association issues. And if you are reducing the dues and or keeping the dues at the same level over a period of years, that's basically, there's a prima facie case for breach of fiduciary duty because prices go up, they don't go down, and they don't stay the same. So it's not possible to keep assessments the same for a decade, not without cutting corners and not maintaining things. So if you're doing that, then then there is something that's suffering. Maybe you didn't paint the clubhouse on time, maybe you didn't put the new roofs on time, and that's going to result in losses, and that's a problem, and that's a breach of fiduciary duty.
Cameron, I feel so sorry for boards in this case because they got people yelling at them because they don't want to have an assessment, and then they have an absolute fiduciary duty to have an assessment if it requires certain aspects of repair and maintenance. And Adam, if I said that wrong, correct me, please. All right, looks like I was close enough. Cameron, commentary. It stinks, right?
It can be tough when you're the one having to say we're going to impose this assessment, but the board has a responsibility to maintain the property and to help owners uphold their property values, and it's a partnership, and sometimes they have to be the bad guy, and that stinks.
Cameron, would you agree, like if it's insurance related, which in the last couple of years it has been, increased costs, why not just invite O'Neill, and I'm dead serious about this, or your insurance rep to come to the meeting and let them not only offer the advice because they should be talking insurance, not board members and the manager, but take the heat. I mean,
Yeah.
O'Neill's good at it. He's not his first rodeo. Do you agree with me, Cameron?
Yeah, we have done that in some circumstances when premiums went up a couple years ago. We had some communities that just skyrocketed, and we said we're going to invite the insurance agent, and that way they can hear it direct from them, and it's not coming from us. And I think
O'Neill?
that helped with that.
No, we advocate for that, to let us get in front of boards and the homeowners at annual meeting to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, and then like O'Neill's good at it, and most of the HOA insurance reps are good. They do this for a living. Use them. Let them come to your meeting and give the bad news and answer questions. Cameron, are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Anything
Check
to
with your
get
manager.
heat off of us.
Right, exactly. Check with your manager though, and let your manager set that all up though. Don't contact the insurance people yourself. Keep your manager in the loop on everything. I'm just going to kind of skip this one. Assessments, audits, and financial oversight. We already spoke about assessments. You need to have this. You need to do it. Adam, can I skip it and move on, or do you want to add anything to it?
Sure. Let's keep rocking and rolling. I mean, these things are all, we're spending hardly any time on any of these, right? So we'll just.
Well, it's not my fault, Adam. I don't make the world. I can't help that. It's a complicated world.
I think
right.
we're doing great, Ray. I think you're doing great.
Right.
It's great. I think we can move on.
Yeah, I would love to sit here and dive deeper into some of these things.
Yeah.
Responding to complaints professionally. I don't know why I thought this one worded. Sometimes I do this at midnight. I don't know. It sounded like a good idea. Cameron, was this like a case where I thought, like, you think of an invention you're going to have at midnight and you realize it was a bad idea? Do you think this slide belongs here? Is it worthy?
I don't know that we need to talk too much about it. I think we have a lot of great communities with really smart board members, and they know how to be professional. They've been in the business world, and but yeah, it's important to watch what you put in writing. Be careful what you put in your emails, because everything's discoverable.
See, audience, why you should use managers, because Cameron very nicely said that was a stupid slide. And she said it in such a nice manner. She said, well, and that's what managers do well, and they're going to do that better than a lot of board members. So you did that very nicely, Cameron, and just saying, O'Neill would have just said Adam would have just said that's a stupid slide, Ray. But you were very kind about how you went around it.
I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said that at all. It's a good one.
Well, offer commentary on it very quickly because we're running out of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it goes in line with, and I would probably say professionally/civilly, but I think a lot of the things that we're facing, and when you're seeing getting information from CAI and everywhere else, we're seeing more and more hostility in the world, and it's just increasing and increasing. And doing it in a manner like Cameron said, having it be professional, having it be civil, and keeping it even keel. Somebody comes in, they're spitting venom, they're nasty in their complaint. And then you're responding to it. And when you respond even kill, you don't escalate it. You don't get nasty. You don't throw in unnecessary adjectives to show how smart you are. You just calmly answer. It can bring down the hostility and rein it in. A lot of times those folks are still going to come back and spit venom the next time anyway,
right.
But it can help bring it down. And maybe not necessarily even for them, but maybe for you. Maybe it could, because you're calming yourself down. So it can be it can be very useful, and I think it's. I agree 100% with Cameron with how they need to be done.
Why is it okay if I say, why not just dump this on the manager, right? On the board, because we're talking to boards today. I'm on a board member, and somebody's complaining about something about the association. Why can't the board member just say, you know what? Thank you. I will make a note of your complaint, and I plan to bring it up at the next board meeting. But also, please go down to the manager's office and let them know about it. Are you comfortable with that, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, we covered that earlier in the program.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I wanted just
to be saying,
yeah.
Hey, thanks for bringing that to my attention. We don't, as board, we don't individually receive complaints. We direct those to management. So if you could send them in to management, I'll do my best to pass it on, but I want to make sure that your message is received properly. Please send it to them, because if we individually take it, then you can get 5-10 different answers because everybody's answering. So that's why I can't answer you today, and I would like for you to meet with management. Also, get out of my yard.
Sometimes I have to repeat things because the programs are so exciting that people's adrenaline gets so pumped sometimes that we just got to go backwards. All right. Owner participation versus board decision making. I'm thinking I put that on here because it's not the same thing at all. And it's sometimes not even, well, I don't know, Adam, take it from there. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, I think I do. And I think, and this is one of the things, this is one of the negatives with being transparent and allowing members to attend board meetings, and particularly where you allow members to speak, is they get a misconception that the board's supposed to really engage with them. And then if they have their wonderful idea because they've attended the first board meeting that they've ever been to in the first 10 years, and they're like, oh, why don't you guys just do all these things I just came up with, which by the way are completely illegal, but you should do all these things. And then if the board doesn't just jump on it and do those exact things, that board member then comes to the next 5 board meetings and cusses the board out for not following their great idea. The board, it's good to listen to members, and that way you can get a feel for what they want, but you got to keep in mind, you've got a vocal minority a lot of the times, and you don't have any obligation to engage with them. Even if you're going to allow them to speak, or even if they're allowed to attend to your documents, there's not an obligation to hear what they say and then throw an answer out immediately and or change every single thing you're doing. You do need to make sure that you're doing your diligence and making your decision based on that and not based off of just anecdotes that are coming from the audience.
And Cameron, it's very obvious in this industry too that most of the owners have no clue what's going on, and they just get up and make a complaint, and there's no basis in fact. And if you're a board member, you could be just wasting your time even trying to respond. Maybe just respond politely or something. But do you agree, Cameron? There's just, whatever. And also, I think the manager could help with this too, right? If an owner doesn't understand something, maybe they could go talk to the manager at another time about it, and the manager could explain maybe why this has to be done a certain way. Do you agree, Cameron?
Yeah, a lot of it is education.
Yep. Or just call Neil. He's available for anything, personal problems, professional. He's just a great guy. All right, 2 quick questions came in, then we're going to do closing thoughts, and I have a couple questions here, but the questions have kind of pertained. We've already covered them, but there's a couple here we didn't get to. Can I personally be sued as a board member? Adam, I know, just take it, but don't expand on it too much. But can I be personally sued as a board member? That's a question that comes up a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would say there's a very, very good chance that you will be sued personally along with the association. You'll get out of it, but you agree or don't agree?
It depends. I think it varies. It depends on what you're doing. I'll expand. You told me to be quick, so I just said yes.
I know. It's not your fault.
Can you be personally sued? I mean, you can be sued for anything at any time. Is it possible to have a legitimate, viable suit against a board member in the state of South Carolina for their actions on the board? Yes. There are various certain deviations that can have. You can have a derivative suit. The association can sue you directly. On certain levels, you could be sued personally based on what you've done in the corporation. Technically, if they're coming after the corporation issues, they should be able to be dismissed until they can prove that the corporate veil should be pierced based off your substantial deviation from your breach of fiduciary duty, which is, by the way, what most board members do. Most of them breach the fiduciary duty because they grossly negligently make decisions unilaterally based on their own household decision making, and that's not within the scope of fiduciary duty, and that exposes you to liability.
O'Neill, I'm going to make a statement. People are getting nastier and nastier. They're feeling less neighborly, and they have no problem with just to aggravate the board member. Yeah, add them on there personally, even though there's a good chance, like Adam said, they're going to get off it anyway. But this is a growing trend. Would you agree? They're throwing members on there anyway. What the heck?
It is not uncommon to see individual board members named in a lawsuit. So going back to what we talked about earlier about having a directors and officers policy that is broad and specific to associations. If you have a good policy, it should cover the board members individually and collectively as a whole.
Try not to panic. I know it's upsetting. I don't blame you for being upset if you're sued personally. Try to stay calm and get in touch with your professionals, and I think you'll feel better after you have a conversation. But I feel sorry that you got sued personally too. All right, really quick, Cameron, I'm just going to leave. What if our manager gives bad advice? I don't know why we threw this one on here, but people I think it's about the relationship of what a manager should be giving advice and whatnot. You have a board for a reason. Advice is advice, right? Decision making is decision making. You brought that up in the beginning. Do you want to expand on this a little bit?
Well, managers are people just like everybody else, and sometimes we make mistakes, and that's why it's a partnership. Managers can make a recommendation to the board, and the board can choose not to follow it. They can give advice, and the board can say no.
It's, let's face it, it's like 1,000 times more the other way. The manager tells the boards what to do, and they don't listen. You know what I mean? Like the managers have been doing this a long time, believe me. And I don't know why the boards don't listen, but they don't listen. And sometimes they forget that the manager told them that, though, right? Cameron, it's just human nature. So, yeah. Like, why didn't you tell us that? And you're like, oh, all right. But that comes with the job. All right. Let's do. There is a question. That didn't apply to anything. What do you do about homeowners who think the rules do not apply and say, I did this last year and it wasn't a problem? There's a lot there, Adam. If you could do it, in about a minute, it would be great.
Sure. Well, for one, a lot of times there's just an inadvertent failure to catch something. And just because something was missed one time or in one unit or even 3 units in 100, it doesn't mean that the rule's been waived. It just means somebody missed it. As Karen pointed out earlier, we're all just people. So mistakes happen. Everything's not going to get caught. People are going to speed down over the Ravenel Bridge. They're going to go too fast and they're not going to get caught. It just happens. It doesn't make it legal. It just means that they didn't get caught. So it doesn't waive the ability to enforce into the future.
Cameron, I would ask board members to give managers a break too. Don't assume that management is not already aware of this problem. And for whatever reason, there's legalities involved of why it hasn't been solved yet. I think boards, along with owners, are quick to jump the gun and, hey, this should have been fixed. Well, you know what? The manager's been on it for 2 months, but can you expand on that, Cameron?
Well, the master deed and bylaws and the covenants and restrictions, there's a lot of rules and regulations, and we can't possibly catch every single rule and every single violation all the time. There's just too much out there. So a lot of times, a board will decide that they want to focus on a specific, want to cut down on, people leaving their trash cans out on the street. Well, people have been leaving their trash cans out on the street for years, and so someone will give this argument that we're talking about. And Adam, thank you for that example about the speeding, because I'm going to use that one. That was a great example.
I was thinking too, Cameron, like managers are on these issues a lot of times already. It's just that there's reasons, and it's in the best interest of the association. And a manager is going to know this, and a board member's not, right? A board member is going to assume they can do A, and they sometimes they just got to take a breather and don't go charging at the manager. Just politely ask, why is this like this? Don't assume that management isn't already on it. Are you okay with that statement, Cameron?
Yeah. Yep. I am.
Well, okay. There's one more question. At what point are HOA dues astronomical in Charleston? All right, I'm going to get back to this person on their own. Let's do closing thoughts. I'm going to save Cameron for last. O'Neill, quickly, closing thoughts. We have a minute and a half here.
Closing thoughts, just thank you for allowing me to be here and kind of reiterating what we said earlier. As a board, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with professionals that specialize in community associations, especially your manager.
Definitely use HOA insurance, people, please. I'll just say it. Adam.
I'm just going to add one that we didn't get to touch on, which ties to some of the questions, which is, how can a board member get sued, and where is the thing where they get confused very often? Well, a lot of board members get confused and they say, oh, we should just go and knock on their door and say something to them to be courteous, or we should call them. There's a reason the industry sends letters. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of board members that have found themselves spending the night in jail because they knocked on the door, and then the individual homeowner calls the police, they accuse them of assault. Now you've got a problem, and the board member's trying to explain they didn't assault them, they weren't harassing them, they weren't doing this. And the problem is that only one person was supposed to be at that door, and that's the person that lived there. That board member should never have been there in the first place. Same thing with the phone. It's hard to explain what was happening on the phone unless, of course, it's been recorded. So it's better just to have those letters. They are more courteous. Some folks think they're not, but they are more courteous, and they certainly protect you from litigation better and
You
criminal
gave
issues.
me the best topic idea, Adam. I'm like so excited now. I don't have time to share it, but this is going to be an awesome. I can't wait to ask you these questions. Cameron, closing thoughts. I hope we didn't rush through everything, but we kind of just want people to think and then ask.
Right. Yeah, I just want to thank all of our board members. It's a thankless job. Y'all don't get paid for it. It's hard, and you're doing a great service to your community, and homeowners should be thanking you, and hopefully some do. But the nature of the beast is that you're going to get a lot of complaints. So thank you for the job that you do, and thank you for partnering with us to maintain your community well.
Cameron, do you think we could remind board members, if you agree with me, that 80% of the people or more of the association are very happy with the job that you're doing? You're not hearing from them. Can you just touch upon that a little bit, just so they feel a little bit more better about that? Because they probably don't realize that.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of emails from people saying that they're satisfied with the job that you're doing. You're going to hear from the squeaky wheel. That's just how it is. But most people, and I think, one of the things that board members can remember, a lot of times if you don't have a lot of people show up at your annual meeting, that means you're doing a good job. People show up at annual meetings because that they have something to complain about, something that they're unhappy about. So if you have trouble getting quorum, that usually means that everything's good.
And work with your manager, work with your manager, work with your manager, boards. That's all I have to say. Use that manager. They know this industry. You don't know it as much as you think you do. The manager probably knows it a heck of a lot more. All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank our panel. Thanks for letting me rush you guys. I know it's brutal because you're in a serious business with serious answers. That's why we say we're not providing professional advice today. We're just providing commentary. But okay, I hope to see everybody soon. And Cameron, thank you so much for setting us up. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye.